Hello and welcome to the Box Score Network NFL preview show on YouTube. My name is Simon. Joining me this week is Austin and Parker. Guys, we are a week away now from the Super Bowl of the 2024-2025 NFL season. Um, the Pro Bowl is happening as we speak. Uh, really important stuff going on. Their alternates are flying in on jets to make it to all the events on time. We're not here to talk about that. We're going to give everybody a two-part preview show for the Super Bowl. So this week we're not making picks officially. So if anybody slips a pick, they can walk it back next week if they want. We're not making any bets right now. We're not checking on our goats, although I'm a little worried about Parker. But we're gonna look at some X factor players, some the units on both sides, how they match up, some X's and O's things, some stats, and just give you guys kind of a what we think might happen in the game. What are some things that both teams are kind of preparing for? What players you might expect to make big plays come the Super Bowl? So we're gonna take this thing unit by unit. We're gonna start with the Chiefs offense. So Austin, do you want to start here? What are you looking for from the Chiefs offense? What key players are you looking at? What are you paying attention to?
I'm looking honestly at the offensive line of the Chiefs to keep Patrick Mahomes upright. The only time we've seen him in real trouble in the playoffs is when his offensive line kind of doesn't do their part. Going back to that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay and Tom Brady, the Chiefs lost that because Patrick Mahomes was running around like a chicken with his head cut off the whole game because they just could not protect him. The offensive line's been in pretty good shape this season. They've done pretty well and they actually do really well against a light front, and that's something that the Eagles don't do well in from what I've seen is they don't get a lot of pressure on just their base rush. Now, they do like to bring guys, and when they do bring guys, they have some success, but we all know Patrick Mahomes thrives when he gets time and is blitzed. If the blitz pickup is there, Patrick Mahomes is going to make you pay 9 times out of 10. And if you don't blitz and he's well protected, you're also in trouble. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there on if you want to bring pressure or not. And that's going to be the key to the Chiefs offense is keeping Patrick Mahomes upright and just letting him pick apart and do his thing because it doesn't matter what weapons he's got out there. If Travis Kelce's, the hero of the game, or if he's using all sorts of different guys going down the, roster. He could be getting Justin Watson involved, and obviously you got your Worthy and Brown, but who knows who you see Patrick Mahomes throw the ball to? It literally could be anybody. Wouldn't be surprised if Samaje Perine makes a big play at the end of the game.
Listen, I mean, P. Ryan, he sealed the deal in that Bills game.
He did.
We get to that last Chiefs play. It's like 3rd and 2 or whatever. I'm like, I haven't seen P. Ryan in the game lately, and there he was in the flat, just
It
getting
was
first
it was
down.
third and long. It was like
Yeah.
3rd and 8 or 3rd and 9, I think.
Um, yeah, the offense line's going to be huge. Now, obviously, if Ben were here, he would talk about how they're still sending a lot of help to the left side because Joe Tooney has slid to left tackle. Mike
Mm-hmm.
Caliendo has been playing left guard since then, and that's certainly been more consistent for the team. And that is the plan, it sounds like, for the Super Bowl as well, even though DJ Humphries is healthy, but I think that'll be an emergency situation. So yeah, how do the Eagles counteract that? I think will be huge. Is Jalen Carter going to line up over Caliendo and try to make that work instead of sandwiching himself between Trey Smith and Creed Humphrey? We saw Carter have actually a quiet game against the backup guard for the Commanders last week, but is Caliendo someone that he might try to target? So yeah, I think certainly the Chiefs and their offensive line trying to maintain against there's talent there on the Eagles D line, and especially in the middle. It's not quite the same as it was a couple years ago when they met in the Super Bowl in terms of that crazy pass rush that they had then. But yeah, it's definitely going to be key. And can they get ahead of the game script by running the ball as well? That will certainly be big for Kansas City. Parker, what are you looking at for the Chiefs offense?
So, my biggest thing is Patrick Mahomes, obviously. I mean, what else is there really to talk about on the offense? I mean, obviously you have Travis Kelce, but Patrick Mahomes is everything that offense has going for it. My biggest point on Patrick Mahomes is what Austin said. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is most successful when he extends the play. It's a lot like the Aaron Rodgers type style where you extend the play and make the highlight plays, and that's the plays that people remember in clutch times and in the playoffs. Now, one thing I have been looking at a lot going into the Super Bowl is the last time these teams played in the Super Bowl. Because believe it or not, I mean, besides a few players, I mean, the rosters are relatively similar because it's only been a couple years. So for this Chiefs offense, the one thing I really want to focus on and what I'm really looking for is the Chiefs to get an early start. Because if you remember last Super Bowl, I think Patrick Mahomes was outscored 24-7 or something like that in the first half. I know they had a defensive touchdown, but if we're just strictly talking offense, Jalen Hurts had a couple rushing touchdowns. AJ Brown had a touchdown, and they were beating Patrick Mahomes by 17 points going into halftime. Not counting the defensive touchdown I'm talking about. So since we're talking about the Chiefs offense, I think Patrick Mahomes just has to almost play impeccable. Really, if I'm looking at the matchup, I'm looking at how the Eagles are probably going to slow the game down. Patrick Mahomes has to find a way to get the Eagles to play Chiefs pace football, really. So that's like my main thing I'm focused on is Patrick Mahomes speeding up their side of the ball and not letting the Eagles take their time.
Yeah, I mean that's huge, and we saw that play a big hand in the Bills game. I mean the Chiefs came out firing on that first drive, where it was just snap, drop back, hit, and it was Worthy, and it was Brown, and it was Kelsey over the middle, quick first but consistent first down, moving plays over and over again. Got that Bills defense on their back foot. Certainly going to be different against this Eagles secondary, but yeah, that'll be huge.
There is one more thing too, like just like Austin said. I mean, I'm looking at this last Super Bowl. Sky Moore, Kadarius Toney, Nick Bolton, like the guys that score touchdowns for the Chiefs team in these playoff games are just ridiculous. So if you have, I know we're not talking bets, but if you have a couple bucks, go throw some money on these Chiefs bench players because they might get in the end zone.
Yeah, certainly. It's funny. Even at the beginning of the year, we looked at the Chiefs pass catchers and we were like, this unit, man, I don't know. I don't know about it. And then you look up and you're like, DeAndre Hopkins, even if he's not doing much right now, Xavier Worthy, Travis Kelsey's coming. Hollywood Brown is bad. This is pretty good. It's pretty good for Patrick Mahomes. We've each now kind of mentioned him. My key to the Chiefs offense is Travis Kelsey. And do they play through Kelsey? So for the Eagles, Nakobe Dean got hurt in that first round playoff game in the first round of the playoffs. And since then, they opposing tight ends have gone off. Tyler Higbee, 7 for 54 and one touchdown. Zach Ertz last week, 11 catches for 104 yards. And then we saw the Chiefs target Kelsey big time in their divisional round matchup against Houston. He had 7 catches for 117 yards and a touchdown. I'm wondering if this is just like a classic Mahomes to Kelsey game right away. You go over, and I don't know how you guys feel about PFF grades. I don't love them, but Zach Bond, linebacker, is their main linebacker. He wears the green dot for the Eagles. He had a pass coverage grade from them at like 91.7 over the course of the regular season. It's down to 63.2. Oren Burks, he has a decent grade, but both guys are giving up over 9 yards per reception when they're in coverage and Bond was down at like 6 in the regular season. So teams are targeting the linebackers for Philadelphia right now, especially with how well those DBs are playing and have played all year. So for me, it's are the Chiefs just going to come out and go to Travis Kelsey right away, early and often, and use him as the chain mover to then open things up, right? It's like going in basketball, going to the post early to try to spread open for shooters later. I'm wondering if Travis Kelsey has a really big game in this one. And then, caps it off by proposing Taylor Swift on the field after the game. Just a little something for the fans. You think that's going to be a bet? Was that a bet last year?
Well, I heard like somebody say something about it, but like I don't think that's going to happen. Like, there's no way that's a thing, right? There is
Somebody
an
buy me
app
a
where you
line.
can bet on
Some,
literally anything. There is
someone,
an
Yeah.
app.
th-
I don't know, or there's a website also. What was that website that you were like you can bet on literally anything? You brought it up to us,
um,
and we were looking at the
Yeah.
presidential election. Remember it?
Yeah. I can't think of it right now, but I do know it.
all right, all
I
right.
bet it's on
I'll
there.
TBD for
probably.
next week. There's a
Yeah.
little taste. I'm putting money on that. Anyways, all right. So let's go to the other side of the ball here. The Eagles defense. Austin, you were looking at the Chiefs offensive line for their offense, but what do you think the Eagles on the other side of the ball are going to try to do?
So the key to the Eagles winning this is their DB's ability to wrap up. The Kansas City Chiefs cannot run the ball. All year, they have struggled with the run. Their EPA on run plays is negative zero point 0.1, which for reference, the Eagles' EPA on run plays is zero point 0.7. So it's like almost a zero point 0.2 difference between the two. So the Chiefs cannot run the ball. So you're not necessarily super worried about that. especially with how Kareem Hunt's looked and Pacheco not looking too great right now either. The Chiefs are going to try and operate through the quick passing game. That is their bread and butter. It has been for the last like 2, if not 3 years, if we're being honest. And Mahomes and Reed have adapted it so well. They get their guys out in space on the perimeter very well. And now they have one of the most electric guys on the planet out there in Xavier Worthy. But the Eagles' cornerbacks are all pretty solid tacklers. So if their defensive if their defensive interior can hold up and just limit the run like they have been, force the Chiefs to do what they have been doing all season and use that kind of short passing game as, their substitute for a run game. And if these DBs, Darius Slay is a fantastic tackler, believe it or not. That was
Hmm.
something he struggled with early in his career. He
Hmm.
has completely turned it around. Um, and they have a list. Avonte Maddox is great. Ringo's pretty solid. Isaiah Rogers is probably their worst of the bunch, and he's like fine. So yeah, I think that's their key. And if they can do that, they're going to be able to keep this Chiefs team in check and just then you got to worry about the deep ball. But play aggressive, come up, make the tackles early, and don't have any short gains turn into bombs, basically.
Yeah, huge. The Chiefs are third this year in yards after catch on the offensive side, but
Mhm.
the Eagles are second in yak allowed, like second best. So they definitely need to maintain that if they want to be able to keep that Chiefs offense from doing what it wants to do. So that's a really good call. Parker, what are you looking at? What's a key for you for the Eagles defense?
I don't mean to be so vanilla, but I mean my number one thing is DBs on my sheet. My main point though, I mean I agree with everything Austin said. The yards after catch, the tackling, it all matters. The Chiefs try to do the short pass, get the ball out, get the guy open, move the chains. Now, that all being said, the one thing I wanted to focus on the Chiefs offense is Patrick Mahomes extending the play. And the one thing I want the defensive backs to focus on is the fact that Patrick Mahomes is going to get those opportunities. So in those situations, it really comes down to can the DBs cover up for that sixth or seventh second that Patrick Mahomes is getting outside the pocket, running to the sideline, looking for a player to throw to. Like that is the main thing for me. That if you can keep Patrick Mahomes away from getting those third and sevens, third and eights, where he's extending the play and dumping it over the linebackers, or whatever he's doing, that's where the defensive backs can really win the game on the defensive side of the ball for the Chiefs or for the Eagles. So yeah, I mean that's my highlight on the Eagles defense. And the Chiefs are going to have to win by throwing the ball. Like Austin said, they're terrible at running the ball. Neither of the running backs seem to be in their form of what we may have expected at the beginning of
Mhm.
the season. So that all being said, yeah, I mean defensive backs are a major key.
For the Eagles defense, for me, and I'm kind of just taking Parker's and running with it a little bit because this is kind of an amalgamation of everything we've said so far. If Philly can force Patrick Mahomes to hold on to the ball, I actually think that could be a really interesting game plan for them if they wanted to go that route. Now you have to be aware of the explosive play late in the game or on in like 2 minute drills at the end of the half. You have to be aware of like the scramble that's going to extend the first down. That's going to give them a little bit more time, right? But on an efficiency, like play by play basis for the Eagles, you're going to want Patrick Mahomes to hold on to the ball because of what Austin's saying with the yak, because of the ability of these receivers to get open quickly. Patrick Mahomes is second in EPA per dropback on quick throws, so that's under 2.5 seconds this year. But he's just 20th on throws over 2.5 seconds. Meanwhile, the Eagles' pass defense is elite in either scenario. It doesn't matter, first and fourth, respectively. But they only force the 22nd highest amount of throws over 2.5 seconds. Their defense kind of lends itself to quick throws. Now, that's kind of, they want that because they have a lot of disguises, right? They're trying to trick you, make you think things are open when they aren't. Mahomes is pretty good against that. He's not going to make too many mistakes out there. But if they can force and game plan Mahomes to hold on to the ball longer than he wants, more often than he wants, that's when you can maybe force him to make those plays, like Austin alluded to, back all the way back to the Bucks Super Bowl. There's still a little bit of that in him. If he's holding the ball and scrambling around every single play, you are just increasing your chances for a mistake. And maybe that's not always a backbreaking interception, but just missing a throw, off timing with his receivers, right? The longer it's happening, the more work the receivers have to do. So the more chances Xavier Worthy's going to run out of bounds, or DeAndre Hopkins is going to have someone catch up to him. Forcing Mahomes to hold on to the ball every single play, I think is going to be big for Philly's defense if they can do it. Let's flip over the other way now. Let's go to the Eagles offense. Austin, when you're looking at this Eagles offense, what do you think his key is going to be?
Key's second down. Just like that's it. It's getting as many yards on second down as possible. First down, the Eagles love to run the ball. I mean, they run the ball on over 50% of their pass or of their plays are runs. So they're probably going to be running the ball on first down a lot. And when that's not successful, which it's been very successful as of late, but the Chiefs are a very solid run defense. They're not necessarily world class, but they are very good. And there's going to be times when they get stuffed on first down. And it's about getting to third and manageable because the Chiefs have not been that good on third down as of late. Their defense tends to give up yards on third down. And what we saw in that Bills game was they were just a hair short a few times. And being, just 1 yard closer to the line or to the line to gain on third down is really what it takes. And then when you come up a bit short, the Eagles have the ultimate weapon in the brotherly shove, the tush push, whatever you want to call it. So my key for the Eagles is having your best play call be on second down, getting yourself into third and manageable where you're either going to get it or you're going to be right there, and then you can convert on fourth down because the Eagles are really, really good on fourth down. So that's a really solid game plan. I don't care how they do it. If they want to do it through the air or on the ground, they have the weapons to do it either way. But second down is when they need to make their money.
And they're sixth in the NFL in EPA per play on second down. Yeah, that knowing you have four downs more than any other team this season, other than maybe Washington, right, in terms of their fourth down efficiency, opens up that bag for you and doesn't take the ball out of your best player's hands, right? Like Saquon can still get the ball on second and long because you can still get 4 or 5 yards in any way with him. I tried to look through some Eagles weaknesses on offense with anything, and like there's just not a lot, man. This offense is really, really efficient because of that run game, because of Saquon Barkley being a cheat code. Um, but yeah, not panicking, right? Not panicking, and yeah, the Chiefs don't they're not going to stuff them behind the line of scrimmage very often. Like the Chiefs defense is pretty low in terms of stuff rate, so though the Eagles will be in good position on early downs to do what they want to do for sure. Parker, what's the key for you? What are you looking for from this Eagles offense?
So obviously the running game, like it's pretty pretty easy to see. I mean, they're number one in rush plays percentage of snaps being run plays. They're number one in, in rushes per game, number four in yards per rush, number two in rush yards per game, number one in rush touchdowns per game. I think they had like seven last week. Like that is the key to the Eagles offense. Like slow down the game, run a little bit of clock, make Patrick Mahomes work with minimal possessions, don't turn the ball over, like take care of what you need to take care of, move the chains and get points on every possession. Whether it's a field goal or a touchdown, go down there, get points, put points on the board and make Patrick answer on the way back. So that's like the number one key for me. Not to mention, like we're going to talk about the Chiefs defense, but Chiefs defense, I think, has like the seventh most rush plays from opponents in the NFL, and it's at like 21. I think the Eagles ran the ball 40 times last week or something like that. So I'm expecting this Eagles offense to just play power football. And like Austin said, get ahead of the chains. When it's 3rd and 2, tush push. Like guarantee a first down, move the chains, eat the clock, reset. That's the biggest key for me in the Eagles offense.
I'm gonna go with their passing game because this is where I think the one deficit might come for Philadelphia, and it is against the blitz. Because, like Parker said, their offensive run efficiency and volume is just so high. And if this is going to be a close game, it's going to come down to those key moments, right? I mean, Bills Chiefs came down to fourth down, a blitz by Spags off the edge with the cornerback, and that gave them just enough time to take Josh Allen out of the play that he wanted to go to. So this season, the Chiefs were fifth in the NFL in blitzes, and they were seventh in EPA allowed on those plays. In the regular season, Philly was really good against the blitz, especially on third down. They were plus .13 EPA per dropback, which was sixth in the league. In the postseason, however, they're minus zero point 0.3, which would be 21st in the league this year between Houston and Dallas. And that's not just the Rams game. I double checked. I thought it might have been just in the snow. Even the Commanders, technically, like the EPA on those plays, third down against blitz weren't great. I think the Eagles are better than this right now. I think they've moved past this narrative of Hurts can't perform against the blitz, right? But all it takes is one or two plays. But I think especially early, we're going to see Spags test Hurts and say, okay, third down, especially if we get you in third and long, right? If what Austin's saying with the key of second down, if they're able to keep a third and long situation, even just on a couple plays, even just on a couple drives, what can Hurts do against the blitz in this one? I think it's going to be big. Um, So I'm really looking to see if the Chiefs even do that because again, over the course of the regular season, the Eagles were good against the blitz, so maybe the Chiefs don't do that. Um, but we know it's in their nature. We know it's in their DNA, especially in clutch situations. Let's flip to the other side of the ball here. Austin, the Chiefs defense going up against that Eagles offense. What are you looking for?
They need to step up in the red zone. The all the numbers point to the Chiefs being incredibly mid, I guess is the word we'll use, incredibly average, pedestrian, whatever word you want to say that means average with a slightly negative connotation, right? Like they just they need to step up on their red zone defense. They have just they're incredibly average, and this is like one of the keys for the Eagles offense is getting to the red zone and not turning the ball over and just pounding it with Saquon and just eventually getting in either via Saquon or Jalen Hurts, just kind of punching it in. So what I need the Chiefs to do is I need Chris Jones to take advantage on the pass attempts they have and make Jalen Hurts rush. Jalen Hurts has
Mm.
been pretty good this season. That's the probably biggest improvement of Jalen Hurts' game since the last time these two played is Jalen Hurts has really developed in his ability to stay calm under pressure. But this is a really big game. And if there's any time he's going to crumble and kind of fall back to his old tendencies, it's this one. So getting pressure on him in these, passing downs in the red zone. And I just need to contain Saquon as much as possible in the red zone. Don't let him break one off and just take it, 16 yards to the house or however long it is. Make them really work for it. Make them burn as much clock as possible. If they're going to get in, make it be after a long drive where Jalen Hurts gets punished and takes hits because Jalen Hurts is going to get hit a few times. And I'm never rooting for anybody to take any dirty shots or, go helmet to helmet or anything like that. But you've got to make Jalen Hurts pay when he's pounding the ball
Hmm.
near the goal line. You just have to.
Yeah, definitely. You got to make them matriculate down the field. The Eagles throughout the regular season, certainly, but we felt it more in the small sample size of the postseason, right? These Saquon 60-yard runs that end in
Mhm.
touchdowns, like you can't give those up too, right? You got to kind of. I mean, it's easy to say game plan for red zone and also game plan for like not giving up explosive play, but really you can't like let them be super efficient in both those things. You can't give up the 60-yard plays and go 4 for 5 in the red zone, right? You've got
Yeah.
to be able to take one of those things away, and
It's like, oh, they only had one successful red zone drive. Yeah, well, they scored three touchdowns from outside 40 yards. So,
yeah, if you can make them slow it down and actually work for it, you certainly have to. That just improves the odds of them making a mistake. And if we get another Frankie Louvu situation because of it, where he jumps over the line 3 or 4 times at the goal line, great. I'm here for it. Who would that be? Who would be the Frankie Louvu from the Chiefs? Is it Chanel
Chanel's good. Um, I would maybe even go just like,
or wish
I don't
Honey Badger
know.
was still on the team? That would have been easy.
Yeah. Um,
It's not it's not Tranquil. There's not a
what about like Jaden Hicks, their backup safety? He's really quick.
oh yeah, that would be fun. That would be fun. Get it in there, young buck. Go
Yeah,
go
just
try to make a play.
I mean,
Don't let Mekhi Becton
on
flip
the
you on your way down.
on the
yeah,
biggest stage.
Yeah,
You should get
fourth round draft pick this year,
yeah,
and
just go for it.
the kid's athletic as hell. So yeah,
All right, that's a good one. All right, mark that down for a bet too. Over under point 0.5 jumping over the line of scrimmage at the goal line.
yeah.
Anyways, Parker, what's your key? What are you looking for from Chiefs defense?
so. Again, not trying to be vanilla, but like one of the main things that the Eagles do well when they're not running the ball with Saquon Barkley. I don't want to. I mean, Austin kind of touched on Saquon and the explosive plays. So my thing is like not letting Jalen Hurts out of the pocket. Like if you don't let Jalen Hurts out of the pocket, and if you capitalize on, if you don't let him out of the pocket, his throws are not that great. Like he has the tendencies to make errorable throws, like throws that you could bite off as a corner or maybe take for a pick six in certain scenarios. Where when Jalen Hurts get out of the pocket, it's almost like it's a double-edged sword because he can run for six or he can burn you for 25, depending on who's open. So I'm going to say that the main key I want to focus on is one, not the explosive plays from Saquon, like Austin's saying, and two is just making sure Jalen Hurts stays in the pocket as long as possible.
And which way you want to force him, Parker?
I
If
want
you got to do it.
to got to force him left, baby. If he's going to get out of the pocket, force him left.
It's great, man. Anytime we could put like a little hoops game plan in here, I'm all for it.
Yeah.
All right, I've got how I want to know exactly how Kansas City is going to try and defend the run, right? Obviously, you want to take something away. Obviously, you're not going to hold Saquon to 25 yards, and if you do, like holy crap, Spags forever, like immediate bid to the Hall of Fame. But I want to know how they're going to try to do it. So on the season, the Chiefs are 10th or 11th in just about every run defense split you can come up with by EPA. But some of the things that were interesting to me were they play with neutral boxes, so seven flat defenders, more than 28 other teams in the league this season. So the fourth most of the whole NFL. They're also in dime with six DBs, more than 28 other teams. So again, fourth in the NFL. So a lot of times compared to other teams, they're rolling out there with six defensive backs and keeping seven in the box. So one a safety's in there, a couple linebackers, and their defensive line. I wonder if they break some tendencies to try and get some bigger personnel on the field. Um, Now
Mm.
in when they're in those neutral box sets, they do have like the 10th most explosive plays given up on the ground, but that's more about volume. Again, they're doing it fourth most in the NFL. Um, but do they keep Chanel out there more often than they have? He plays about 45% of the snaps. Do they roll with their three linebackers more often to try and dispel some of the run game a little bit? Just take on blocks and try and make the tackle closer to the line of scrimmage, right? To take away some of those explosive runs. Do they go with the bigger personnel to try to keep Dallas in bigger personnel to try and, make sure they know okay, where Hurts is going to go with the ball if he's going to throw the ball, right? If there's only two or three guys that we're really worried about from a pass catching standpoint. So I want to know if the Chiefs are going to do what they've been doing and just kind of roll out with the lighter boxes and the lighter personnel to try and take on this Eagles behemoth run game or not. It'll be pretty fun to see. Um, Anything else for you guys on any unit? Any key players? I mean, we've obviously mentioned all the big ones. For me, I think like Nick Bolton, that and just the linebackers for the Chiefs is going to be big. Making sure those plays don't break off huge. I mentioned Kelsey. I mentioned Hurts against the blitz, how he fares. He obviously had a great game against the Commanders overall, and then those Eagles linebackers against the pass. But any other X factor players you're thinking about here a week out from the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I mean, going to your point that you were just talking about, I think Leo Chenal is like pivotal for this game. His ability to come up and make tackles close to the line of scrimmage, his like average depth of tackle is just 2.5 yards, which is pretty solid for a
Yep.
linebacker.
Yep.
Like I think that's really solid for a linebacker. You're seeing other guys closer to that, 3
Hmm.
yard mark, like Drew Tranquil is, closer to 3. So if they're getting to Drew Tranquil, it's an
Yeah.
extra almost half a yard
Yeah.
they're getting, on average, and that obviously Tranquil's not the tackler that Charlotte. So I think that's a really key piece to your point there. And then offensively for the Chiefs, there's one name that I'm really looking for, and that's DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, he's a veteran in this league, and he's got the trusty hands that I know Patrick is going to look for. And he's just one of those guys that Andy Reid seems to try to get the guys who kind of have earned it their touchdown. Like that's something we've seen him do time and time again over the years. And I think DeAndre Hopkins is going to have a play for him, if not two. So I'm looking for DeAndre Hopkins to be used, uh, maybe not gadget play, but have a play designed specifically for him. Travis Kelce, probably the most underrated part of his game is his ability to set picks. Like that man's awareness just does so much for him. But one of the things is he just goes out and sets the best picks. He knows when to like pass the second level and go for the third level, and how to manipulate the defense in order to get someone else open. And so I'm looking for DeAndre Hopkins to get in the end zone, thanks to maybe a little help from Trav.
Parker, anyone else you're really watching for in this one?
Not necessarily. I mean, I think we've kind of gone over everybody just about.
All right. We're gonna put away some Super Bowl talk. We're saving 5 to 10 minutes here
I gotta go.
to talk about Austin's favorite subject. Uh, I Austin went quiet in the Slack when I mentioned we should potentially talk about this. He had a look of disdain when I mentioned it in our pre-production podcast or pre-podcast production meeting. Um, how to fix the Pro Bowl? Austin's upset. Parker has some boomerish takes, which is great. Um, I'm gonna I kept quiet on mine. I just want to throw mine out there. Actually, go ahead. Go ahead. Austin, you've got to get this off your chest.
Okay. The Pro Bowl is a lost cause. There is no helping it. There's nothing that can be done to make it on the level of the other sports. Football is not a game meant to be played. I don't know if trivially is the word for it, but like I go out and play baseball on the weekend sometimes. Like there's a group that meets up. There's no umpires. There's no teams. Like we just go up, have a bucket of baseballs, and just like go play. Like baseball can be done and played in a way that's nec non-competitive, but also kind of still keep a little bit of a competitive spirit. Basketball's a similar way. You can just go pick up a basketball, shoot hoops, have a fun pickup game. Football as a sport is meant to be played all out, all gas, no brakes. Like that is the way the sport is intended to play. And there's just like nobody goes on and just throws on pads and just like, hey, you want to go play some ball like on Saturday? No, like that's not how the game works. So it's a lost cause. I think what they're doing right now is great because the players seem to have fun. And I think as long as the players are having fun, it'll at least be somewhat engaging to the fans. But if you're making them like put the pads back on and, risk getting hurt and all that kind of stuff, I think it takes the enjoyment out of it for the players and then thus the fans. And it's just going to be an endless cycle of trying to change something to make a square peg fit in a round hole.
Parker, how you feel? How you feel about the Pro Bowl?
So I don't necessarily disagree with Austin. It's not like I'm saying the Pro Bowl is this great thing that we can turn around. That's not at all what I'm saying because I'm with Austin. Like football is just a harder sport to play casually. Like that's really just what it is. It's not a casual sport. It's 100% all or nothing type game. And I do agree with Austin. It looks like the players are having fun doing what they're doing. But at the same time, I think if there is any reality to getting a Pro Bowl back to what it was, because right now, playing the games they play, I'll go ahead and tell you last year's Pro Bowl had 5.79 million viewers. That's the lowest amount since year 2000. And in years 2009 through 2014, they were all above 10 million viewers. So it was doubled. So in my opinion, like if you're talking like engaging with fans, getting more people to watch it, getting more people to care, I think the first step, I mean, it obviously started to fall off when the players took off the pads, whether they were hitting each other hard or not. In 2014, 2013, 2015, 16, in all those years, we're looking at like 35 to 40% more people watching the Pro Bowl because these players are in pads and because it just looks like a football game. I mean, I think that's just and the last thing I'll say that might get the Pro Bowl back in shape is if there was any sort of incentive you could provide to players, like as far as like maybe how the NBA turn in season tournament does. Like I don't know if something like that would work, but if you're in the Pro Bowl, a lot of the times you're well paid, unless you're a special teams guy or unless you're like a long snapper, something like that. Like maybe the better players will play for those guys to make that bonus. I don't know.
What do you guys think about, because I thought of, I tried to think of a few different things. I tried to think of like, in terms of the events, like almost, I think taking the football stuff out of it would be more interesting. Like get these guys to do a 3-point shootout or like a dunk contest on a 9-foot rim or like do a home run derby or something. Like I would be more interested in watching that. And maybe because it's not that like pseudo football element, you get some of the stars back out. Because I think that's the issue. Nobody
Hmm.
goes anymore,
Hmm.
right? Drake May, Russell Wilson, and is it did Joe Burrow elect to stay in the Pro Bowl? Whoever stayed in the Pro Bowl are the AFC quarterbacks for the Pro Bowl. The AFC is quarterback central, right? And
Hmm.
we couldn't get any of the good quarterbacks in there except for
Like
whatever one it stayed
even
in.
Stroud and Herbert, like guys that were out in the first round that are like better than
Exactly.
90% of the NFC quarterbacks. Like
Exactly.
it's crazy
We
that none of
can't
those
get the
guys are in
stars to
there.
go. And the only thing I came back to was the NFL. We know Goodell wants to add another week to the regular season, right? We know he wants to add another game, make this an 18 game thing. And we know in order to do that, the players are pushing to get a second bye week.
Get rid of the
Instead of
portal.
getting an 18th game, can we add 2 weeks to the regular season and make that our Pro Bowl and do a second bye week after, similar to the and Austin, you could tell me for like MLB All Star Game, but the players, the main thing is you get like 6 days off after the All Star Game, right? Like they don't have
Mhm.
any. They do All Star Weekend. I think they stop playing games like Tuesday or Wednesday that week. They do All Star Weekend, then they don't play again until the following weekend.
Mhm.
Could we do something like that for the NFL? And again, we're still not playing a game. Obviously, I mean, it's even more imperative that we're not playing game and getting anyone hurt. But could we just have an event where we feel like it matters, where the voting is happening over the course of the beginning of the part of the year, and then the stars will actually come, right? Okay, you guys are getting a bye week. We'll write this into the bye week, but unless you literally miss the game the week before the Pro Bowl or leave that game with an injury, you have to be at this Pro Bowl, right? Something like that.
Well, I don't think
You can
players should
never
get the
make
option to
players do
opt
that,
out.
but
I don't think you should get the option if you're part of the NFL and we're doing this for the fans and the fans voted you to be there. I think you should have to be there. Like
and that's why
that's
I
just
think
how
doing
that
it in
works.
season, especially if you're saying you're going to get a week off after, and we're still not going to make you play a game, I think you could get more stars to do that, and then you still just do you could do all the same stuff. You could do dodgeball, you could do some of just the events, whatever, and you can play around with whatever events you have every year. But doing this in season and adding a bye week might actually help the players because then maybe you're kind of getting an extra 2 weeks off because a lot of the league isn't going to this, and the guys that are relaxing and you take them to different places, right? And instead of just going to Orlando, which they've done since COVID. And then my last thing for I did write down player incentive. So yeah, can you get some incentive based in this? But then also just can you? I think about it from an award standpoint too, right? Because it's weird that at the end of the year we have, over the course of the full, we have our Pro Bowlers and we have All Pros. Like it's strange
Hmm.
we have that. So I think moving the Pro Bowl up also kind of gives us a like, this is who's had a really good beginning part of the season, and it's maybe not just going to be, all the same guys, or like at the end of the year you lose the steam to really think about who's the Pro Bowl, so you just vote the guy you've always voted. Um, Maybe it's a way to reward the guys who have a really good first 6 weeks, and you kind of get a difference between that and the All Pro. So between the awards and just getting the stars to come out, I think moving it up and getting an extra bye week for the players, I think would be pretty interesting. And it's the only way I could think of. Parker, what do you got?
My favorite part about that is the fact that every Pro Bowl you don't get any of the Super Bowl players. Like that's the main thing. Is like when Tom Brady went to the Super Bowl, like you weren't seeing him in the Pro Bowl. When Aaron Rodgers went to the Super Bowl, you weren't seeing him in the Pro Bowl. When Ben Roethlisberger went to the Super Bowl, you weren't seeing him in the Pro Bowl. Like all these guys that could have had 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowls, like just don't. And I agree. I mean, I agree with the fact that the stars might actually come out, and if you can get Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson to be the three quarterbacks for the AFC, everybody will watch. Doesn't matter what they're doing. It just makes total sense. I think that if they're not going to put on pads, which obviously I don't think it'll ever get to the point where they do.
Mm-mm.
So if they're not going to do that, then I think that your suggestion is about as close as we're going to get to a revive to at least have, 7, 8, 9 million people watching versus 5.5, which is what watched last year, which is like, I want to say it's like 12% lower than like the lowest it's ever been. So it's pretty terrible.
It's tough. Austin, any thoughts on that or any final thoughts for you on the Pro Bowl?
I think moving it to midseason could be a win. But again, it's just it's hard to put to television a product that is not NFL football when that's kind of what fans want, but like they're not going to get it. So again, it's kind of a lost cause in my opinion. Uh, I do think having stars there would increase ratings, though, no matter what. No matter what they're doing, you're right. If you can get Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson to be the three quarterbacks for the AFC, like absolutely you're going to do better. And um, I don't know. I think having that combined with some sort of incentive could result in a improved product to the point where it would be worth watching.
And man, I love the idea of every league doing because Austin, the MLB still does this, right? Where the winning side gets. Oh wait, do they do
No,
that?
not
No, they don't do that
anymore.
anymore, right? Dang. See,
Not
I
anymore.
love that. I wish they still did that because I remember being a kid with the NBA All-Star game and like the East-West rival. Not that they did it this way, but that felt like a rivalry. Like the Eastern players that wanted to play the Western Conference, and they were like, our conference is better
Mm-hmm.
and you don't get that natural thing out of it anymore, especially just because players are changing teams so much more frequently. But having some incentive for AFC versus NFC, I think would also be sweet. Um,
Problem is, what
all
is
right,
that an incentive? Like what there's like
exactly. You don't with it being a neutral field, yeah,
because
home
everyone's in
team, you
different
get to call the coin toss
divisions.
or whatever. Like
Yeah,
yeah,
there's so
yeah,
many different divisions and different teams and different whatever. It's so hard
yeah,
to give an incentive to a whole conference.
yeah.
Like, anyways, I think that's enough about the Pro Bowl, probably.
Yep. Hashtag move the Pro Bowl to midseason. That's what we're rolling with here. All right, that's our push, and that is our part one of our Super Bowl preview show. Thank you all so much for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. Please like this video. We're going to continue to have content going up on here throughout the off season. Make sure you're checking out all the audio pods, Tricky Takes, Two Piece, Simon and Friends, Odds On Favorite, and because CONCACAF. Thank you all so much for watching. We will be back next week with our part two of our preview show where we get our picks, our bets, all that sort of stuff. So make sure you are tuned in. Have a great weekend. We will talk to you soon.